Welcome to the roundtable discussion of 1864 elections. The Civil War begins after the Confederate fire on Fort Sumter in the early of April 12, 1861, and marking the beginning of civil wars. A total of 11 southern slave states seceded from the Union because of the South would heavily rely on slavery since their economy were based on agriculture, while the North is industrializing. So it's less than required. In December of 1863, President Lincoln announced his first plan of Reconstruction. It offered a general amnesty to all white Southerners who would take an oath of future loyalty to the federal government and would accept the wartime measure dealing with the emancipations. Whenever 10% of the number of state voters in 1860 took the loyalty oath, then those loyal voters could establish the state new government. And today we have Democratic Representative John Williams on my left, and on my right we have Republican Representative Jeffrey Smith. Let's welcome them. Hi, John Williams. What is your strategy for ending the war?
McClellan doesn't actually plan on winning the war. As you may know, he sides with the Peace Democrats, who want to end the war now with a treaty between the North and the South. The Confederacy has proven itself a worthy opponent, and its army is led by one of the smartest generals of this time, Robert E. Lee. McClellan is known for thinking extensively before making any decisions that could go wrong. This would also be mirrored in his decision-making as president. Why challenge the base of the Southern economy when there is compromise? That is what we are asking.
Now let's hear from the Republican Representative John Smith how was his strategy of ending the war?
Okay, so contrary to what you said, the Republicans actually plan to win the war, and we will win the war. One strategy we will use is a Navy blockade of southern ports. Also, we have General Winfield Scott, who has what we call the Anaconda Plan. We also have other generals like General McDowell. And probably our strongest point is what we're going to do is we're going to take the Confederate capital of Richmond, Virginia.
Can you explain your plan in detail, Mr. Williams?
If our plan goes through, the Confederates would rejoin the Union and their property would be returned to them. This would include any slaves that were taken during the Emancipation Proclamation. In general, all hostilities would have to end between the North and the South. We cannot put any more lives at stake for an economic issue.
Can you explain your plans in more detail, Jeffrey Smith?
Okay, so with our blockade, we will blockade the southern ports, and this will stop all Confederate imports from European countries. These imports include things such as weapons and supplies. And for our Anaconda Plan, we will advance and take control of the Mississippi River. This will split the Confederates in half, meaning that we will be able to easily take down one side at a time. And finally, by taking control of Richmond, Virginia, we basically have control of the Confederates.
So what's your resolutions for the Confederates?
The Confederates are not going to give up slavery, which is why they went to war in the first place. Instead of trying to abolish slavery and threaten the source of labor for the South, we should simply even out the number of free and slave states. Compromise is always an option, especially when American lives are at stake. The North cannot use its power in Congress to target the integrity of the South. We will do anything it takes to maintain peace between the North and the South.
How about your resolution for the Confederates?
Okay, so one thing that we want to end any bitterness between the Confederates and the Union. We will issue a proclamation of amnesty and reconstruction for Confederate states. We will also pardon certain states who swear to support the Constitution and the Union, and of course enforce the end of slavery.
So, in your view, should we still consider them as part of our union then?
No matter what, the South will always be considered a part of the Union, and I'm pretty sure Lincoln holds this true as well. We have to be clear that the only thing dividing the North and the South is the issue of slavery. We are all familiar with America's government, and we appreciate its democratic processes, so that is what holds us together. We were all born American, and it will stay that way. What Lincoln wants to do is butcher the South into submission and force them back into the Union. We will accept them at face value. The Peace Democrats want to ensure that all opinions are heard so that the war can end immediately. If we follow the Republicans, more American lives will be lost on both sides, the Unions and the Confederacies.
How about you, Mr. Smith? Should we still consider them as part of our union?
The Confederates will be allowed to the Union. As a matter of fact, the Republican Party doesn't see them as a seceded nation, but rather just a conflicted part of the Union. Although I agree with you on many points, such as bringing back the Confederate States, we don't meet up on our view of Lincoln. The Republicans want to end the war with victory on the Union. This will end slavery for sure. Men may die in the fields, but things will not change for sure unless we ensure a victory.
Okay, now let's hear from the common folk.
Okay.
What do you think of McClellan?
Oh, he wasn't a very good general. A log does more in one day than he ever did.
Well, I think Lincoln's plan will put many lives at risk. He isn't thinking about the families these soldiers have. Killing people for a win? No, thank you.
Thank you for joining us at the roundtable discussion today, Ms. Wu. Thank you too. See you next time.
When I dream of you.